Good morning. Welcome to our webinar this morning to look at high yield med reviews and our NAPLEX solutions. I'm so grateful you're with us this morning. We're going to wait just one more minute and do a couple introductions here so our last couple of attendees who are registered can join us. But I appreciate all of you who are here on time. My name is Tamsin Baker. I am the president of the Institutional Products Division at High Yield Med Reviews. So I am over all of our products and contracts with pharmacy institutions, as well as those with our partnering NP institutions, PA programs, medical residencies, and hospitals. Hospitals, you may be familiar with us with our BPS products, which we have a really strong footprint in that clinical pharmacy market with BPS reviews. So that falls under my purview too, where we contract with hospitals. And joining me today is my colleague, Leslie Houston, who works directly with our faculty. Leslie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, good morning. I'm Leslie Houston. I am the Director of Institutional Accounts, and as in my role as Director, there we go. The coffee still hasn't quite kicked in. I get to work with our partnering faculty to identify which components of NAPLEX reviews for our pharmacy schools and other products for our other institutions as well fits best for your student population, and what implementation do you feel works best?
Excellent. Well, now that everybody's with us, let me give you just a quick preview of where we're going. We want to absolutely respect your time. We know you are very busy, just like we are. So we're going to keep this really focused, but we will leave time in between Leslie and myself speaking, as well as at the end, to answer any questions you may have. And please also know, as you hear us talking, you can put comments in the questions section over there on the side in the chat, and we'll get to those questions as we have the time for that. But also, if you end up wanting to have a one-on-one conversation with Leslie to do kind of a face-to-face and really get into the details of your specific program and questions, we are happy to do that as well. So here's where we're going this morning. We're going to do a short overview of high yield and our approach to NAPLEX prep, because we know you have many options out there for your students. And we really believe that our product is different in some unique ways. We want to make sure that we share that with you and what our offerings are. And then I'm going to kick it over to Leslie, and she's going to do a demo of the actual platform so you can see exactly what your students would see and what you as a faculty member would see if you were using our content. So let's get started. I'll share my screen here. Sorry. In my mind, it was already shared. There we go. So high yield NAPLEX support. So we know that it is really critical that your students pass the NAPLEX exam, both for their own benefit of being able to start their careers after investing 3 or 4 years in pharmacy school, but also we recognize that for pharmacy institutions, the number of new institutions in the last decade has made attracting students much more competitive. And since your scores are published publicly, we know it's also really important for your institution that your students are achieving those high scores that you want them to in passing the first time. And at High Yield, we believe the best way to do that is identifying learning gaps with your students, because they all have them, helping ensure that your students aren't just memorizing facts. That's not going to be enough to really attack those more complex and tricky case-based questions on the exam. And it's also not the best way to prepare them for practice. So we want to go beyond that. And finally, and this one's big for us, we believe early preparation is key. If you leave it up to the students and you give them a resource and walk away, they're very likely not even going to think about NAPLEX prep until April or May. And that's too late if there's gaps that need to be shored up. So we attack these issues really with kind of 5 approaches: building competency, making sure that our content is comprehensive, covering all of the major body and organ systems that your students have been learning about over their last few years. that we offer a variety of components, learning components, to address different learning modalities, that the approach is longitudinal, so throughout their final year of study, not just in the last couple of months, and that we are providing partnership. We're not trying to just sell you a product and walk away. Our team is really committed to our institutional partners and working with you for successful implementation. So let's start with the first one, building competency. How does high yield do this? We have built and developed all of our products using the knowledge transfer approach to education, which believes in taking core, explicit, that kind of memorization-based knowledge as your start and foundation, but building upon it with complexity, critical thinking, application to cases, so that students begin to understand the concepts that build up and support those ideas. And finally, having opportunities to apply that. So that might be to complex cases that may be in their APPE rotations, but we know that students retain information when they truly grasp the concept by building stepwise upon the complexity. Next is comprehensive. Like I said, our approach covers a full comprehensive review, really addressing all of those major areas the students have learned about throughout their pharmacy schooling. And then we take that comprehensive information and we apply it to that learning method through our method, learn, practice, apply, review. So we're giving your students the content and the components so that they can be learning the core information, having opportunity to practice it, to apply it to more complex situations, and then before the exam, really reviewing it. Like I mentioned, we have lots of different components because we believe students learn differently and need to be interacting with content with different modalities. And our components really have some great functionality. Our QBank has over 2,400 practice questions, and it's not just a yes, no, correct, incorrect type question bank. We provide the real explanations of why the right answer is right and why the wrong answers are wrong. We offer fast facts and high yield concepts and references so the students can use it as a real learning tool. And that tool, Leslie will show you here in a few moments, also has a really fantastic ability to identify for your students where their individual learning gaps are. We also have a lecture center with nearly 300 lectures that are focused topic lectures. So as students are identifying gaps in their knowledge, they can go review that content. The longitudinal case-based reviews are live reviews that begin to apply that more complex information to cases, and we have them throughout the year, again, to really encourage your students in your program to do NAPLEX prep beginning earlier. Our NAPLEX practice exam, we have two available, 150 question and 225 full length to prepare your students and identify gaps. And then finally, at the end of the year, we offer a rapid review. So this is both our book series, which I have them here. It's a 3-book series that your students receive with our content. And that focuses on really everything they need to know, but in that kind of bite-sized, quick review format. And then we do a webinar at the end of the year as well. And the final piece, it's a small piece, but it can be really critical for your student success on the NAPLEX. It's our top 300 drug series. So that's an ebook and QBank, because we know students, even in practice, they'll have, devices with them, and they probably do now, where if they are really familiar with the brand name and they don't remember what the generic name is, they can just look it up, and that's not a big deal. However, we hear frequently that students come out of an NAPLEX exam and are fearful that they lost critical points because they didn't have that content memorized. So as much as we want to go depth of understanding, not just memorization, in the top 300 drugs, it's really important that the students can pull those and know those core generic and brand names for those drugs. All right, the longitudinal approach. So we're back to, you see at the bottom of the slide, that learn, practice, apply. These are cycles of learn, practice, apply. So through the year, our most successful institutions are requiring their students to do all the content, and they're requiring them to do, and Leslie can talk a little more about this, but lectures and QBanks kind of in cycles. And then we have these longitudinal case-based reviews through the year. So it's great because the students are getting exposure to that core content, they're practicing in the Q bank to see where their gaps are, and then they're applying it in these case-based reviews, which helps them see earlier in the year where they do have gaps. Many times students think they're good to go, and as they start getting asked more complicated case-based questions, they begin to recognize that they need to begin preparing. So if we do that through the year, 6 different cycles of that kind of learn, practice, apply, then we end with that rapid review. Many schools will do that full-length practice exam at the end of the year, and students are ready. We have just found that students that follow this method and institutions that follow this method have a lot of success with this exam, and students are really prepared. And like I mentioned, partnership. So you see my face and Leslie's there, as well as our colleague, Tony Clark, who works directly with our institution. She's a wonderful support there. We really want to help you and your students be successful. So when we enter into contract with a pharmacy institution, it is a partnership, and we are there to support you. So NAPLEX Prep, we offer 2 different packages. The one we recommend the most is absolutely the comprehensive prep, which is really what I've been describing this morning. That is going to give your students that full comprehensive review, start to finish, and make sure that they've refreshed all of the knowledge they're going to need for the exam. However, we do have schools that come to us that either are coming to us later in the year, like maybe you are, realizing they need something for this year and they can't implement a full comprehensive program that requires activity this late in the year. So then we have this rapid review option. It might also be appropriate for schools that have super high pass rates but want a review at the very end. And so our rapid review package would be the books, the rapid review webinars, and then there's individual items you could package with that, like maybe the NAPLEX practice exam or the Q bank. So again, just as a quick recap, the 2 kind of approaches or packages to NAPLEX Prep we offer for institutions is the full comprehensive prep, which is your most complete package that includes everything, or a rapid review package, which is focused on that end of the year review and is not going to be sufficient if your students have a lot of gaps. But if your students are really performing extremely well in the exam and you're just looking to shore up the end, it can be a really great option. So as you can see here, you can kind of demonstrating a few of our products, but what I'd really like to do now is let Leslie take some time to show you the platform, but also to pause for a moment and see if you have any questions. You can put them here in the chat with a question, and we'd be glad to answer them. All right, Leslie, I don't see any questions yet, so I'm going to let you jump in and show us what the platform looks like.
Fantastic. I hope you can hear me right now. My computer is slowly showing the screen. I hope you can see so what I hope you can see on your screen is this is a high yield dashboard, is where your students will access the components of our program. Any device, our platform works on device and syncs across all devices, so phone, tablet, laptop, desktop computer, and tracks all student usage no matter what device they are logged in on. So first off, we'll hit begin here. This is an orientation because of course we want students to understand the tools that they have available to them and the features. So this is a minute orientation that walks the students through these different components. So going through based off of our learn, practice, apply, we would start out learn piece being lectures and Q bank. So students can access their lectures here. They are broken into organ-based modules. As they click the drop down, they'll see every listed lecture. Students then click view. Here is the lecture that they can watch. Institutions get unlimited viewings of lectures. They can also up If they want the lecture, it also comes with closed captioning. We provide reporting to institutions for lecture and QBank usage. Now we have both NAPLEX and Top 300 QBank. The NAPLEX QBank can be taken either on tutorial mode or testing mode. Tutorial mode shows the answer and the rationale of each question. They can use unused, used, flagged, or random. I'm just going to quickly do a few questions just to give you an idea. You can pull questions either from a specific domain or choose randomly. And when you click, you'll see here, you immediately go into the QBank session. You can strike through. This is also a feature in our exam as well, that you can strike through answers. I'm just going to pick A. This will then tell you what the correct answer is. It will also tell you what percentage of people who have answered this question, all of our institutions. It gives you the answer. It often also will give you a high or concept right there. Sometimes there will be a fast fact. There will also be a reference. And then at the end, you can do your test. Now, up at the top here, these are some features that are highly valuable to students. The My Performance tool, it tracks as students answer all questions. Over here on the right-hand side, it will show, and this is a count. So obviously, students are answering, and we have more than 2,700 QBank questions in our NAPLEX QBank. And off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly how many in Top 300 drugs, but it shows that I have answered 100% correct for endocrinology, yay, but I'm weakest in hematology, 0% questions correct there, 25% in oncology. So students can then use this information to identify where they are strongest, where are they weakest, and as I showed you, and setting up the QBank session, you can choose to then pull questions from those specific domains. That's very helpful. Then also, this is where students will view the case-based review sessions, so those longitudinal review sessions, or 90-minute sessions that Dr. Bustai presents throughout the year. And then towards the end, we also have the rapid review, as well as this is where students would access their exams. Now, I do want to switch over quickly to an example of the NAPLEX practice exam report because, and I hope you can see the report, but as Tamsin mentioned, that we have two exams, a NAPLEX practice exam that's 150 questions and 225 questions. So a lot of our partnering institutions have the 150 question exam report. Let me stop showing my screen and then maybe if I share again. Okay, there we go. I apologize. So they'll have the 150 question exam taken in December. And then what we do is we send institutions the NAPLEX practice exam report to the faculty as a whole, so you can see how yours as a class performed across the domains. And we also send individual pages to the students as well. And so faculty will have the students look at information, the QBank questions that they have been answering. And again, as Tamsin mentioned, the institutions that experience the highest rate of success require students to complete the content. So that's either tied to like a capstone course or integrated within the applications that, for instance, they have to answer 150 QBank questions per appy rotation at 65% correct or higher completion, so that they're not just hitting A, because that final year preparation pharmacy students are extremely busy as watching a certain number of lectures. So they'll have the students take the look at their My Performance tool, the NAPLEX exam report, put together a self-study plan for the rest of the school year. Have you identified your gaps in knowledge based off of our reporting? And what are you going to do to fix that between now and when you sit the exam? So as an example of a report, you can see here, this institution, the overall exam score was 80. This is across the entire class. The school was highest in pulmonary, and biostatistics was the weakest area. And then they can watch the lectures. They can answer Q-Bank questions specifically in biostatistics. Then you've got the individual exam score, the performers as well, if there were any students that did not take the exam. And we can accommodate if there are any differences, students that need time and a half, for example, we can absolutely accommodate that. And then our system tracks the login as well. And then these are the individuals. So this is an individual student. For instance, you notice that the class as a whole did best in, I think, pulmonary and biostatistics. This individual did best in dosage forms and worst in oncology. So then the individual sheet is emailed to the student directly. The faculty get the comprehensive report as a whole. And also, as we go through the semester and our institutions are completing their API rotations, we can send the reporting to the faculty at each interval so that you know that they are answering the Q-Bank questions, who is, who isn't, at what % correct, and the students as they go month over month to look at their data, to evaluate themselves, to identify those gaps in earlier. Again, because students need so much more than just a NAPLEX book. They need a full comprehensive review, a clear plan for how to be successful. And so our goal is to give the students those tools to do that. Trying to think if there, and then with the review sessions, so the longitudinal case-based review sessions, we show attendee reports, so you know who is attending and who isn't. And then they are also delivered on demand to the students, because again, we understand the busy life of that final year.
Now, thank you, Leslie. I think being able to see the actual platform in action is super helpful. So let's pause for just a moment. I want to see if any of our attendees, and thank you for sticking with us through this presentation. I hope it was helpful to you, but wanted to pause and see if you have any questions. Okay, there's a question here, Leslie. Maybe you can take this one about why are there 2 exams? How are they used? So I think probably talking about the NAPLEX practice exams.
So that is designed to help increase stamina of students as they go. It's also helpful, we have found again, that institutions prefer to give us a checkpoint, a little bit of an example, a taste of what they can expect going into the NAPLEX exam. So we 150 question exam, and not all of our institutions use both, although they do almost all, at least one. But with and included with the rapid review, that it gives another example. If you're looking for just a rapid review package, it'll give you a little bit of data and analysis on the students as a whole and helping them identify where their gaps are.
Yeah, it's super helpful to see how your class is doing as a whole. It's interesting, that kind of reporting. I've had faculty share with me, but even on the hospital level, where when you get reporting across your whole population, it not only tells the students individually with their individual reports what they need, but it helps the school or the institution see where there might be specific areas that all their students are studying, so that each year they can be refining where they want to focus attention. So I think that's really incredibly helpful to have that snapshot. Are there any other questions? Okay, I see one more question here about our books, the printed books, and are they included with all packages? And they are, but I will just caveat this because we're really excited about these new books, and they have a lot of really fantastic just functionality in them. They have both charts as well as, kind of different ways that the students can be studying. But obviously, paper and books and shipping also have a physical cost with them. So we do have an ebook version. If you've used any of our products, we have a really robust ebook platform and ebook reader that can be used on all devices to access our content and be marked and highlight electronically. And so we do have an ebook version of these books coming out as well that will be available for students that prefer the ebook, or even from a pricing standpoint, if a school's interested in maybe delivering the ebook so that they don't have the cost of the physical materials. That's something that is on the table as well. And I do want to share my screen here for just a moment, just to share that, so our email is here, but ultimately, we really believe the High Yield mission is to impact healthcare for good through premier medical education. We are very committed to having the best lecture content, the most effective Q-Bank questions, to really make sure that all of our tools are steering your students towards being competent clinical practitioners. We don't just want to help them pass a test, but we certainly want to do that. We also want to make sure that it's education that's just equipping them to take better care of the patients that they will have an impact on. And so with that, we really believe the best way for you as whether you're a faculty member or maybe you're in leadership in your institution, the best way for you to get a taste for what's the difference here between what High Yield is offering and some other product is to experience it yourself, to listen to a few of the lectures, to practice a few of the Q&A questions, to play around on the platform. And we'd love to give you the opportunity to do that. I will send you an email back just to thank you for joining us on this webinar today and provide you the recorded link in case there's anyone else at your institution that wasn't able to join us but wanted to. But feel free to reply back to that email or email us at the address here, curriculumsupport@highyieldmedreviews.com. And we would be so glad to set up for you a sample account with the lectures in the Q-Bank, to provide you access to one of the longitudinal webinars, or even I'm happy to mail you a set of these new printed books, the 2023 new version, if that's something you want to see. We just believe the content speaks for itself. Finally, and this goes back to, I hope you got a taste that Leslie really just enjoys and thrives working with our institutions. She really believes in partnership, and she'd love to sit down with you and do, a one-on-one, learn a little bit about your institution, what your particular needs and challenges are, to help you figure out what package might best fit your school, and then we're happy to put together a quote for you as well. So if you have any more questions, please put them there in the notes, but I haven't seen any more pop up. So on that note, we just really appreciate you joining us today, committing some of your valuable time to us, and do not hesitate to reach out to us if you would like any of these free sample products, or to have a conversation to learn more about how we might be a fit for your institution. Thanks so much. We hope you all have a wonderful day.